know it's early, but I was beginning to get a bit concerned that I might find Christmas spirit a little hard to discover again this year. I felt I struggled with it last year, and I would have gladly let December pass as if it were any other month. But for the sake of the rest of the family, I forced myself to engage with it, and in the end it was okay. I really did eventually get to the joy of celebrating the birth of Jesus and the wonder of God's amazing gift of love to the world. This year, being the kind of year that it's been since March, I've heard of a lot of people who were putting up trees and decorations even a few weeks ago, longing for some light and joy to come into their lives and homes. Trin started asking on the first Sunday of Advent when we were going to get our decorations out, and part of me wanted to say, maybe next year. But in the last week, something has changed, and it has a lot to do with candles, I think. Every year my mum gives me an Advent candle to burn each day from the 1st of December, and this year I also received one from one of my churches. These 2 candles placed either side of the fireplace prompted us to get out a lot of our other candle holders during the week, and we've had a few evenings now where the living room has been lit with the kind of glow that you can only get from a candle. And they don't just give out light, they create a lot of heat too, and the room has become very cosy. A bit too cosy on occasion when we've all had to take off jumpers and slippers just to cool down a bit. For me, although the candles help to create a feeling of intimacy and coziness which draws things in, they also help to open me up. They open up a kind of sacred space in me and around me, in which all kinds of things can happen. Closeness and togetherness as a family has been emphasised and even increased with the magic that candlelight can bring. They add something special even to ordinary things like watching television or eating a meal or having a conversation. The candles have also helped to build a worshipful space where it's easy to remember and recognise God's presence in me and all around me, so enabling me to turn my attention to God much more frequently and intentionally. The candles have even created a calm and peaceful space in what is often a busy season. In that candle glow, I can feel myself to start to breathe more slowly and deeply and to slow myself down more generally. Pressures and concerns may not disappear, but in that light they do somehow seem easier to bear. In that candle space of openness and closeness, of specialness amid the ordinariness, of worship and attentiveness and peace, I feel that Christ has come to me. I've somehow been able to hear him more clearly through the Advent reflections, prayers and challenges that I'm engaging with this year. Finding the right kind of space in which my spiritual hearing is amplified has helped no end, and this is something I hope I can take with me into the year ahead. As I've been thinking about candles, I've come to the conclusion that light is indeed a generous thing. As Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, no one after lighting a lamp puts it under a basket. The purpose of light is to shine and spread its rays as widely as possible. A candle doesn't burn for itself, but sheds its glow as far as it can into the darkness, and expends its energy and resources as a sacrifice to enable this to happen. I know I'm personifying a candle here, but bear with me. During Advent in particular, we remember that Jesus is the light of the world, and the words of Isaiah ring in our ears. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. But if we go back to Jesus in Matthew's Gospel and the Sermon on the Mount, he tells us that we are the light of the world too. In other words, the divine light that we see and acknowledge and receive in Jesus is not for our own benefit alone, but is given so that we may be light for others. It's not to be hidden within us, but to shine out. So our job is not to block the light or distort the light, but to let it both bring light to our own attitudes and actions, and to shine through us in a clear and unadulterated way. If we start to think that we're letting God's light shine through us really well because we're feeling really proud of all the good things we're doing, then we're already getting in the way of it. And I think sometimes our job is just to get out of the way. That's why we need the light of Jesus to become so at home in us that it becomes an intrinsic and instinctive part of us. Then it will shine out in every part of our lives, and probably we won't even be aware of it because it will seem so natural to us. So it's not just to make us feel good about ourselves, although that will probably naturally follow. After all, the light of Jesus gives us love and joy and peace and fulfillment, and these are all good things. But they're not just for us. They're primarily for the benefit of others. The light needs to be allowed to spread out and really shine. This shining for the benefit of others was emphasised again when I came across this quote from Tony Benn during the week. He said, "You need two flames burning in the human heart, the flame of anger against injustice and the flame of hope you can build a better world. Both of these flames or lights have as their focus the desire and longing for goodness and well-being and justice to become widespread in our world. And both are necessary to each other. If the flame of anger against injustice burns alone, it can lead us to despair and inaction. If we think we're powerless to make anything better for anyone, then the flame of anger might simply burn us up. Similarly, if we only have the flame of hope for a better world, we might not know where to begin. The flame of anger against injustice helps direct our hope into positive action. Together, these flames bring to light the needs and injustices of an unfair and imperfect world, and help us to see that things should not and do not need to be this way. There is hope for a better world, the world that Jesus wants to imagine and make possible. There is hope that justice and fairness and love and equality and peace and goodness can transform the lives of everyone on this planet, and can transform the environmental and ecological life of the planet too. There is hope that one day everyone will have enough, that those who have an excess will be satisfied with less, and that those who are lacking will have their needs met. There is hope of fulfillment and satisfaction for all. There is hope that the light will shine ever brighter in the darkness, and that the darkness will never be able to extinguish it, no matter how hard systems and regimes and governments might seem to try. The light of Christ can shine through people like us, opening up sacred space in our world, space for openness and intimacy, space for discovering the special among ordinary things, space for recognising the presence of God and giving of ourselves in thankfulness and worship, space for peace and refreshment and well-being, space for all, touched and illuminated by God's love, freely flowing through you and me. One of my Advent candles this year came with an instruction to light it each day and spend a few minutes giving thanks to God for the blessings I've received. I am doing that, and it's a good thing because it helps me to be more aware of God at work in my life. But at the same time, if I left it at that, I'm realising that it might be quite a selfish or self-absorbed thing to do. If I let the blessings I've received stop with me, then where does the light go? Blessings like light are to journey through us and on into the lives of others. So alongside my candle of thankfulness and blessing and hope, I've decided to light the other one as a candle of anger against injustice. I'm trying to reflect on the things in the world that make me upset and angry, to offer them to God and to ask God how I can respond. As my Advent journey continues, I'm asking that God will help the light of Christ and the flame of love burn more brightly in me. And perhaps more importantly, I'm asking that God will help me not to get in the way of that Christ light, which brings love and compassion, joy and peace, and a new way of living that can transform the world.